In my closing argument, I just brought it out, and Judge, I'm not envious of you because you've got to make a decision here. And if it is what we suggest it should be, these people are going to go out of here angry, emotionally distraught, feeling that they have been victimized twice. And it's a reality. Listen, my problem is he's 14, he's 15 now. I mean, I'm just not willing to give up on him that easily. I'm not willing to just throw him in a penitentiary, Hagerstown, Jessup, Eastern Shore, because trust, when he comes out, if you think he's bad now, you better run for the hills. And that does none of us any good, not any of us any good. And I know it's tough to devote resources to people that you don't even like, that you don't relate to. Um, but until they do, you're gonna keep getting what we're getting.
Did
What
the judge
happens?
say anything about the actual charge of misdemeanor? Was that what he seemed to be opposing? Or I'm sorry, manslaughter. Was that what he seemed to be opposed to today? Was it about
No,
the
the
plea agreement?
no, the judge, quite frankly, dismissed whatever agreement we had. In fact, when we came to court, um, it seemed like everything was falling apart because we had some discrepancies in the nuances of the agreement. But this case doesn't have anything to do with the agreement or the recommendation or the deferral of the state to allow the judge to decide the issue. It doesn't have anything to do with that. The judge listened to our case. He heard us all out. He didn't rush us. He let us present our case. He let us present our evidence. He took it all in. He considered it. And he didn't agree with us. We were unable to persuade him as to why our child should be transferred to the Department of Juvenile Services. Now, again, when you talk about the pushback, I mean, there was testimony that my client was willing to be amenable to treatment. In fact, he wanted treatment. Throughout this process, he learned that he had some issues that he never knew he had. Uh, he learned about some things that were affecting him that he never knew affected him, such as the loss of loved ones and the trauma that comes with that, the trauma of racism, the trauma of just having anxiety and depression. He learned about those things, and he was willing and is willing to get help for that. He wanted healing. From the expert that we presented who had spoken with him, he wanted to be healed, and he was willing to be healed, but, you know, we don't have the final say. We just present the information, and it's up to the judge to have the final say. I got to respect it, you know, and sometimes we don't get what we want. The fight continues, and we're going to continue to defend this case like never before. We're going to fight until we can't fight anymore. We're gonna leave it all in the next courtroom, just like we did today. So I'm very proud of my co-counsel. I'm proud of my team because I feel as though we did an exceptional job. And it's okay. This is a very emotional case. I believe even the judge was emoting as he was delivering his opinion. He said it was one of the toughest cases he's ever had in the last 6 years of being a judge. And so it is a tough case but I think what makes it tough is the emotional aspect of it. I thought that the law was pretty clear, and the judge took his time to go through and explain how he came up with the decision he came up with, and you just got to respect it because he did his job. We just didn't get the win today, but it's not over, and we're going to keep fighting. I want to introduce you all to Doreed McAlpin. She's the spokesperson for the family. I'm sure she may have a few words she'd like to share with you all.
Yes, the family, puts out their thoughts and prayers to the Reynolds family. This is clearly a tragic case. There's no win, as it was stated in court. Also in court, the courtroom was filled with the Reynolds family, but also the family of our client. And we will, continue to fight in this case. We are, clearly disappointed that the case is not going to the juvenile court system, but, we're still putting our hopes into the future of Mr. Scott. And we respectfully disagree with Judge Dorsey's opinion today, but we, continue to stand behind Mr. Scott and in his future. He wanted to be an engineer, He was studying. He was doing really well while he's being detained. Evidence was presented to that effect. And we continue to keep him in our thoughts and prayers, and continue to keep the Reynolds family in thoughts and prayers as well.
Can you explain what happened? Some of the family members said that they weren't on a list. They weren't allowed to go inside the courtroom today. They felt they were frustrated with that. Was that a mistake on the court's part, or was that an overstep from the defense?
There were a couple of marshals outside with a list, so a preliminary list where they were going through just to protect the privacy of the and integrity of the process. So I don't think it was a dismissal of the family, but it was something where even my name wasn't on the list initially. So
Were they able to go inside?
yes, the family was there, and the courtroom was filled with the family.
Mr. Gordon, what's next? You said you don't believe your client is guilty of this. Can we expect a fight?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not over. This is not the end. This is the beginning. And we're up for the challenge. This is just a battle. This is not the war.
Can you procedurally what comes next?
I guess he'll be in the adult system. They'll arraign him. We'll get some motions dates, some trial dates, and we'll treat it as any other adult case.
Can you appeal the denial of the motion to transfer?
I don't think we can appeal it. I don't think that you can take any interlocutory appeals from it. In fact, I know you can't, because based upon the Davis case, that didn't happen. So we have to go through the case. When we go through the case and we win the case, there'll be all water under the bridge. So
He's still being charged with first-degree murder.
he's still being charged with first-degree murder. That is correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All righty.
All right.
I got you.
Kenji, you got something
Thank
to say?
you.
Yes, I do.
Kenji, okay.
I think it's important we see the squeegee kids as an issue, but the bigger issue in this city is a lack of services for our kids. I have petitioned the state legislature for the last few years about getting comprehensive mental health services connected to our schools for our kids. We have to create access points to services. This is not the first time I've stood with Jay Wendell Gordon and Attorney Warren Brown. We did the same thing in Baltimore County with a kid and a police officer. We will continue to come back here until we put services in place to heal our kids. It's not about paying them, it's about healing them. And I petition today to all of our state legislators, as we go into the next session, we need to be service driven, because this is having a serious impact. We're going into our 9th year of 300 plus homicides. This is not normal. We have a lot of broken people in this city, and we have to start moving in the direction of healing if we're going to have a long-term impact on our safety.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am. How do you spell your name? Sorry about that. Can you say it and spell it for us?
K-I-N-J-I, Kenji Scott. K-I-N-J-I, Kenji Scott.
Hello. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready?
Hello, everybody. As I'm sure you know, the judge did rule to keep this in adult court. This is just one hurdle in a set of hurdles that we have to go before us to get justice for my brother. And just so everyone knows, we are not celebrating. We believe that that was the right thing to do, but there are no winners in this case. And we just are going to continue the fight to get justice for my brother. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for everything that you guys have done this week, and just shedding light on our story and letting us put our story out there. We're so grateful for that. And now it's just going to be up to the judge and the judicial system, and we're going to let that play out. Thank you so much.
Thank you. No.
I need to share with all of you that this was a very difficult day for this family, for this city. This was a profound, unthinkable tragedy on so many levels. A young man whose life has been devastated. A father, a son, a husband, a brother, a friend who was killed in cold blood. We are grateful that the judge gave the family an opportunity to share their pain, to share their loss, to share their reasons for why this was a case that deserved a measure of real justice. The judge, after hearing from the defense attorneys, from witnesses called by the defense, after hearing a perspective from the state, and most importantly, after hearing the courageous voices of the people that loved Timothy Reynolds the most, the judge ruled that under the law of Maryland, this was a case that deserved to stay in adult court. It was not an easy choice for him. He acknowledged that there were certainly factors that tipped in favor of keeping it in the juvenile system, but that overall, given the seriousness of the offense, the adult character of the crime, the conduct that was present, clear, evident in light of the evidence, in light of the videos, in light of the work that the incredible detectives and prosecutors did on this case, that justice required, the law required, that this stay in adult court. I think the family said it well a moment ago. This is not a victory. It is not a cause for celebration, but it is a moment where the wheels of justice are turning in the right direction. And for that, I know the entire family is incredibly grateful to the system, to the people that fought for it. Today made clear that justice can prevail even in daunting circumstances, even when the forces align against it, that the truth and the facts can be heard. And we are grateful. I cannot tell you how proud I am of all of them. No one can imagine, certainly not myself, how hard it must be in a case like this, with cameras pointing, with people with sharpened spears waiting to attack, to stand up in a courtroom and share your truth for the person that you love. If there was one thing that set this case in motion, it was the courage of this family that would not allow the legacy of Timothy Reynolds to die with him. We'll take a few questions.
Do you think what you did this week, getting a hold of the court filing from the SAO and what you did the entire week, made a difference for this hearing?
Look, I think the judge laid out very clearly that the evidence in this case was significant and was a factor in his decision. I think it was equally important for the family to make sure that the public knew that this was not the case that it was originally presented as, that it was presented for months as. And in that respect, I think the world needs to know the truth. And I think that is an important part of seeking and pursuing justice.
What evidence was shown at the hearing? Were videos played? What type of testimony was there? Can you just give us a little bit of sense of what happened in the courtroom today?
My understanding is that the proceedings will be made public now that this case has rendered in adult court. And I think it's probably appropriate this time because there were some items that would remain sealed for evidentiary reasons that won't be public, for the record from the court proceeding to speak for itself. I don't want to represent or characterize the evidence in any more than I have.
Can you give us a sense of what the family expressed to the judge?
We just expressed the same thing we've been expressing to you guys all week, and just who my brother really was and who he meant to us, or what he meant to us, and the important life that was lost. And that was really what we wanted to let the judge know. We wanted everybody to know, and why we spoke to you guys, because we wanted everyone to know he was not a bat-wielding maniac. He was a brother, a father, a son, a husband, a cousin, a friend. And we lost an amazing person, and we wanted the judge to know that, and I believe he did. And I'm sorry. No, I just want to also say that we did have some reservations about this prosecutor's office, particularly Ms. Mosby. But I just want to say that Mr. Dunty stepped in and took a stand for us, and Rita put herself on the line for us to make sure that the truth and that justice was done. And we are so grateful for all of that. We're so grateful. So they have a hand in this. Thank you.
I know you said you don't want to characterize the proceedings, but can you tell us if the video did play, the ones that were, the stills were included in the court documents that were filed?
The court documents that were filed were certainly in evidence and before the judge. The videos were made a part of the record, and I think that portion will not be sealed, is my understanding. Look, they saw it. They watched the videos, and they shared what they saw, what is as plain as day, with the judge. And part of the ruling that this conduct was adult conduct, that this crime was an adult crime, certainly accounted for a defendant who retrieved a bag and retreated only to pull a mask on, and then to come back to that confrontation and shoot the victim 5 times, multiple times in the back. To pretend that those facts were not on the mind of the judge, I think would be to betray reality.
Would you say the victim impact statements affected the judge's decision?
I certainly hope so. I mean, they spoke in ways that honored the memory of their loved one, but also appreciated the need to balance compassion with accountability. No one is celebrating, in part because many of the people here understand that the defendant is a young man. But the need to balance compassion with accountability is real, and we believe that that balance was struck in a righteous way by this judge today.
What position did the state's attorney's office take in court today? Did they support the case being transferred to juvenile, or did they argue for it to stay in adult court?
Out of respect to the prosecutors, I'm going to let the state's attorney share what they said or did not say in the courtroom. I'll say, and I know this is not going to be the highlight of today, but I think it's important for the public to know, the original prosecutor on this case has obligations under Maryland law to share filings that are submitted under Maryland Rule 1-326 with the victim's family. For her to be apparently punished for that is disappointing, if not shameful. And we hope justice will be done there too.
Moving forward, this will be in the adult court system, therefore we expect to be able to be inside. The public was locked out of the courtroom today. Is it important for the public to know what happens as this case moves forward?
Look, every murder is horrific. It is a tragedy of unimaginable proportions. This one has caught the public's attention for a lot of very complicated reasons. The young age of the defendant, the circumstances of where it happened and how it happened, the fact that it is a subject of so much conversation means it is a subject of public concern. All of you deserve to have a chance to, in a sensitive way that reflects the need for compassion for the defendant and his age, to be able to report on that. I think we said before that the judge has to strike that balance to protect the defendant in light of his age, but also the need for public information. I think going forward, now that this is an adult court, that balance will be struck differently. Any other questions? I am very grateful for your sensitivity to both the defendant and his need for privacy, but also this family and their need for room and privacy to mourn and grieve throughout this very difficult process. Thank you, everyone.